Evelyn was the new girl in school. She was hoping to make friends this year, but she was never good at talking to people. She stood standing in front of the bus timidly, looking for an empty seat, and there were a few, but it was obvious that no one wanted her to sit next to them. One boy even sat his bag on the empty seat next to him. "Hey, sit down," shouted the bus driver. Right then, a boy beside Evelyn says in a rude tone, "Just sit down here, Jesus." He wasn't looking to make any friends. They don't talk on the ride home either. The boy, who goes by the name of Alan, was thinking all day of the ways he can avoid her. Wanting to focus on something else, Alan takes out his comic book from his bag and reads. He noticed that Evelyn would read the comic on his lap from the corner of her eyes. He thought she had nice eyes. Sometimes he thinks she was even catching quick glimpses of him too. He just started to hold his comics open wider and read more slowly. One day, as they were silently reading, the bus stopped at Evelyn's stop, and Alan says, "Here, you can borrow it." She didn't even realize that he'd seen her reading his comics. She was embarrassed and shyly smiled. She walked off the bus, holding the comic close. Alan spent the rest of the day preparing for the bus ride tomorrow. What was he going to say to her? What if she doesn't give it back? What if she didn't even want it? The next day, Alan rides the bus with a stack of comics and puts them on Evelyn's seat, waiting to get her to her stop. She gets on the bus and walks to her seat, sees the comics, and looks at Alan with uncertainty. She picks up the stack and props them on her lap. Alan says, "You can borrow the ones you like. What comics are your favorite?" "X-Men, but I don't like Cyclops. He's boring." "What?" says Alan. They spend the rest of the ride talking. Actually talking this time. They talk about their favorite comics, shows, movies, and their opinions about plots and characters, playfully arguing over some of their opinions. But they find out that they actually have more in common than they first thought. Now, they spend every bus ride catching up and sharing their favorite things with each other. One day, as they sat next to each other reading the same comic, Alan noticed the colorful handmade bracelet on her wrist. He thought the bracelet was ugly, and he always thought the way she dressed was weird. But he started to like that about her. Alan tugs at the end of the handmade bracelet and asks, "Did you make this?" "No, it was a gift from my grandma," says Evelyn. He twirls the end of the string from her bracelet with his fingers. "Do you like Spider-Man comics?" "Yes, but don't get me started on Mary Jane. I like Gwen much better." He laughs, still looking down. He twirls the string on her wrist and slowly slides his fingers into her open palm. Evelyn trying to hold back from looking too giddy. "Me too," he says.